grammar is often seen as rigid, rule-bound, and intimidating. But there's a book which reimagines grammar as something far more organic, something that ignites curiosity and invites exploration. Q in the Garden of Grammar is a book on grammar by Amal Fabian, a book that attempts to transform the way grammar could be taught and learned. Amal Fabian is an author, English language teacher, and corporate trainer with the British Council. Mr. Fabian has written this book for school students who are still learning grammar and also for those adults who remain curious about grammar. The book characters are not normal ones but rather your English alphabet. Moreover, the setting of the book is a whole different fictional world where words, grammar concepts, punctuation marks are living beings. Today, we are having conversation with Amal Fabian to understand his idea behind a book on grammar and what made him approach grammar concepts in a simple way. It is great if a child is bilingual.
Absolutely. There's so many benefits to being bilingual. My concern is that many children and young adults are not conversant in any language. So they may not be able to write a proper essay in, say, Hindi, nor will they be able to write a proper essay in.
Do you think grammar should be taught differently in school now with the coming of AI? And if yes, then how they should teach grammar now in schools?
So I haven't taught grammar at schools in India. I have worked with the British Council where we teach grammar probably in a different way. Globally, there is a trend to move away from grammar. So the focus is more on the communicative approach. That means that using your communicative skills within certain situations. For example, how to book a train ticket or how to purchase items at a shop.
In India, is there an effort on part of the government to de-emphasize the importance of learning in English? And if it is happening, what could be the consequence of it?
From what I see and what I hear, the government is not keen to promote the English language. I feel that this is the wrong policy. We live in a globalized world and English is the lingua franca. Whatever job you do, whether you're in the corporate sector, whether you're a journalist such as yourself, whether you're a chef, whether you're a photographer, at some point in your life, you will need to use English. So by not focusing on English, we are in a sense not giving our young people the tools to succeed.
Do you think grammar intimidates people? Students?
Yes, I think it does. Even when I was a student many years ago, I was never very interested in grammar. I was not intimidated by grammar, but I really didn't think, that that was important or that was something that I had to focus on. Grammar is intimidating, especially the way it is taught.
Thank you so much, sir, for joining HW News English. It was great reading your book. So my first question for you is, so there are many different grammar books, but now why another grammar book? And what makes your book different from other grammar books available in the market?
Thank you for your question. It's a pleasure to be here at HW. Grammar has a bad reputation. People find it boring. And many times when I just say the word grammar, I notice that people are not interested in the subject. And that's because the way it is taught. It is taught in a manner which is not connected to the way people communicate. So what normally happens is that grammar is taught in isolation and it's not taught within a context. The book I've written, Q in the Garden of Grammar, is grammar told through a story. So I want people to get an understanding of the geography of grammar so that they feel more comfortable with grammar. And if they want to study any point in greater detail, they can do so with a certain level of confidence.
Of course, the dimension of the grammar which you introduced in your book was amazing. It was interesting for students who will read. They'll find this interesting.
Thank you.
Okay, so
yes.
Okay, please.
Yes. So the grammar dimension is where the story takes place. And I wanted it to be away from the real world, the world in which we live in. So a sort of magical world where we can interact with people and animals and things and grammar.
The alphabets and all those grammar concepts as living beings. Yeah. So now, as we know that there is AI, there are different AI tools. So with the coming of AI tools, the students who are still in standard 5th, 6th, 7th, do you think they'll more rely on AI to learn grammar or do their work rather than studying and understanding grammar?
I feel that the temptation to use AI is so great that even if teachers ask them not to use AI, they will still use AI. And I see that as being a problem because if you outsource your learning to AI, then you are not building your foundations. And that may be all right when you're young, when you have to complete a report for Monday morning. But the problem is, when you become an adult, you need to communicate, and you need to communicate in different settings. If your foundation is not strong, and by foundation I'm also including grammar, then you'll find it difficult to express yourself.
Okay, that's correct. So my next question for you is, do you think grammar should be taught differently in school now with the coming of AI? And if yes, then how they should teach grammar now in schools?
So I haven't taught grammar at schools in India. I have worked with the British Council, where we teach grammar probably in a different way. Globally, there is a trend to move away from grammar. So the focus is more on the communicative approach. That means that using your communicative skills within certain situations. For example, how to book a train ticket or how to purchase items at a shop. My suggestion would be to not avoid using AI, but use AI as an ally. It should be a tool to help teachers and students. One way to teach grammar, and this is the way that it's done in institutes or at institutes such as the British Council, is to teach grammar within a context. So, for example, if we want to talk about, say, the present perfect, I have, or have you contacted the caterers, for example? You can have a context where, for example, you can tell the students, all right, we're going to be organizing a party, and everyone is responsible for one part of the organization. Now ask each other questions using the present perfect. So that makes the grammar come alive because there's a purpose for using the grammar, and the students hopefully will be so interested they won't even think about the grammar but focus on the communication, and the grammar would, in a sense, by itself would take care of itself.
Now that the point which you made, if we look at the other end, then in India there are different schools and boards. For example, you have private schools, public schools, and even in private schools you have different boards, ICSE, CBSE, and each boards and state boards also. So each boards, they have different style of teaching. So where do you think we should bring some sort of we should come onto a central line where we could decide, we should teach grammar to kids like this across India, be it public school or private school.
So there may be different ways of teaching grammar, and that's absolutely fine. My suggestion would be to as I discussed before, teach grammar within a context. So do not have an exercise where you say this is a grammar rule and then give them 5 sentences where they have to fill in the blanks. That's not going to work. And then what we spoke about, use AI to help you, right? So maybe the students can use AI to learn a grammar point and then practice that grammar point with other students. So it's about mixing all that we have, using all that we have.
Yeah. So my next question for you is, now that in India, is there an effort on part of the government to de-emphasize the importance of learning in English? And if it is happening, what could be the consequence of it?
From what I see and what I hear, the government is not keen to promote English language. I feel that this is the wrong policy. We live in a globalized world and English is the lingua franca. Whatever job you do, whether you're in the corporate sector, whether you're a journalist such as yourself, whether you're a chef, whether you're a photographer, at some point in your life, you will need to use English. So by not focusing on English, we are, in a sense, not giving our young people the tools to succeed later on in life. So I believe the consequences are quite serious. And I teach students from around the world. And what's interesting is that I notice certain countries, such as Indonesia and Thailand, are actually promoting English. And the difference between Indonesia and Thailand and countries such as those and India is that we already have English in India. So what we need to do is strengthen our foundations in English. At the same time, of course, making sure that due emphasis is also given to Hindi and
the other regional languages, yeah, correct. But this one point I want to add, the parents, no, I'm not talking about the government, I'm talking about the parents. Parents want their kids, their child to study in English medium school.
That's correct. So parents understand the importance of English and they certainly are keen for their children to speak English. In fact, sometimes when I travel by train or by bus, if there's a young child, the mother would put on an English video, an English cartoon for the young child to watch. So the parents are aware of the importance.
And it is great if a child is bilingual.
Absolutely. There's so many benefits to being bilingual. My concern is that many children and young adults are not conversant in any language. So they may not be able to write a proper essay in, say, Hindi, nor will they be able to write a proper essay in English.
They are somewhere in the middle.
That's right.
Yeah. So my next question for you is, so in your book, Q in the Garden of Grammar, you presented grammar in such a way that encourages curiosity. So how can schools plus teacher and government adopt new way to teach grammar in schools?
So I think what's important to understand when learning grammar is that the learning does not stop when one has completed an activity. So in fact, that's the beginning. And one needs to be a lifelong learner, not only for grammar and English, but for many subjects. So that's what we need to instill in our students. We need to instill curiosity. We need to ask them to practice these grammar points outside the classroom with their friends, with their family members, or on the playground, so that they absorb what they are learning. Otherwise, my fear is that they're not really learning much grammar. So they're learning for the test, and they may even do well when they take the test. But when they're in a real life situation, for example, taking an interview or making a presentation, they may not be able to recollect all those grammar points. So try and make the grammar more practical and more relevant for students.
Okay, one more question related to it. Do you think grammar intimidates people? Students?
Yes, I think it does. Even when I was a student many years ago, I was never very interested in grammar. I was not intimidated by grammar, but I really didn't think, that that was important, or that was something that I had to focus on. Grammar is intimidating, especially the way it is taught. But like I said, it does not have to be intimidating, and it's how we approach the subject.
Given to your what you said about your experience, let me just tell about my experience. I was one of those students who was always excited for grammar lesson. Maybe because maybe how my grammar teacher used to teach grammar. Maybe that may be the reason why I was interested in learning grammar, and from there, yeah.
Yes, a thought just entered my mind. So in the book, there's a reference to glamour and how glamour comes from grammar. So maybe we need to reintroduce the glamour back into grammar.
Then grammar will come into the mainstream.
That's right. Yes.
If you add glamour into grammar. Okay, now let's coming to your book. My first question is, what inspired you to write the Q in the Garden of Grammar?
I was an English teacher at British Council Chennai. That's where I started my career in English language teaching. And I noticed that the students found it very difficult to improve their level of English. And one of the main reasons was that their grammar was weak. So I thought that it would be a good idea to write a story interwoven with grammar. Back in those days, the classrooms were embedded in the library at British Council. So we had to walk through rows of books to get to our classroom. And I spotted a book, Prelude to Foundation by Isaac Asimov. And that gave me an idea as to the framework for the book. And I started writing it. It's taken some time. It's been a labor of love. But that was the starting point.
So in your book, you have different characters. Why did you decide go with the naming the characters in that way? Yeah, please.
Right. When I was writing it, it came naturally to me. I didn't have any rationale for it. Interestingly, someone told me to change the names and use Indian names, for example. So instead of having Q and X and P, have Indian names. I thought that would not be a good idea, because having these names makes the story universal. And in retrospect, I'm happy that I stayed with those names.
That was, I think, a great choice. Okay, my next question for you is, who is your favorite character?
I think my favorite character would be the bookworm, Wow. Just because he's so lazy, and at the same time, he is what we call in the book a grammatical creature. So he has a strong relationship with grammar.
My favorite character would be Q, because of the character development from chapter 1 to chapter 21. The character which used to hate grammar now wants to be the grammar wizard.
Yes. So Q never took grammar too seriously.
Yeah. Even with article against grammar, from where it all started.
Yes. I suppose in a sense we are all Q. The readers, we as readers are all Q as we go on this journey.
So, what do you, the twist in the last chapter and making the author and bringing you as author, as a character in the book, what was your thought behind it?
So I am not in the book.
The last chapter where you mentioned that
So
when everything ends, then
yes,
then N named the book as Q in the Garden of Grammar.
right.
There, a character was already writing what Q did when they were having conversation. There was a character. Yeah.
Right. That was Wow.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yes.
Wow was planning to write a sort
Yes.
of story about all that happened. Yes. Yeah.
I want to talk about these two ladies, wife of Q and P, right? X and N, M or M. So for me, they are like Portia and Jessica of Shakespeare. So in the end, you get to know, oh, a completely different person.
Yes.
Who
Yes.
are they,
What
Jessica and
is?
Portia of your book?
Could you please repeat the last point?
So were N or M, both N and X, were they Jessica and Portia of your book?
No, I did not have that in mind. In fact, it came naturally to me to have these two characters. What is interesting is the women in the book are the ones who are, in a sense, controlling what happens. And they're telling the men, their husbands, to go here, go there. So that's interesting. I also think, coming to think of it, that women probably have a better grasp of grammar and language in general. So maybe this choice was justified in that sense as well.
I call them Portia and Jessica because I could relate that what these two characters they reveal about themselves in the last chapter. It happened in Merchant of Venice too. So I call them Portia and Jessica.
Yes. And X's husband, P, was finding it very difficult to digest. So he was in shock because he has been serving the grammar wizard for so many years. And then he found out that it's his wife.
So my last question for you is, was there any particular chapter or concept which was most challenging for you to write or conceptualize?
Yes, there was. So this was the chapter called The Perfect Dream. And this is when Q has his dream that he has returned to his home and he's talking with his wife. And in actuality, it's the Grammatica flowers who have made this dream for Q so that he can learn about the present perfect. So I remember that was a challenging time for me to find out how the story can progress. So I needed to think about it and I slept over it. And the morning when I woke up, I had the idea of the perfect dream.
So what do you have to tell the adults who struggle, who want to learn grammar? What do you have to tell them about your book?
So this is my advice for adults. My advice is, do not get stressed when learning grammar. Enjoy the process. Take it step by step. And this book approaches grammar as a story. And as I said at the beginning of this interview, this would give you, hopefully, the geography of grammar. Once you understand the geography of grammar, then you'd be in a better position to decide which grammar points you'd like to study further.
Okay, sir. These were my questions for you. Thank you so much for joining HW News English. It was great having you on our channel. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.